everything the Quran loves, the Bible hates when it comes to these things. So let's not kid ourselves. There is a difference between the two manuscripts, and if the Muslims want dialogue, they should be open for critique.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Brother Derek, thank you.
Critique the Bible, but you should allow us to critique the Quran also.
Absolutely. Hey, brother, thank you so much for your call. Excellent encouragement and questions, and we've got to move on. We've got a lot more callers. Thank you so much, brother. God bless you. All right, well, we've got a lot more callers, and we're learning as we hear these responses. So let's take the next caller right now. Welcome, you're on the air with Jesus or Muhammad.
Hi there. Hi, Father Joseph, and hi, David, and hi, Walid. I just want to say that I'm very grateful to this book and all the thoughts in it. I congratulate you for that. Just one point is a person in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, is specifically called the false prophet, which is the second beast, the beast from the land, from the desert. And they say he will support the first beast, who is the Antichrist. And there will be, and behold, another beast coming out of the earth, and had horns like lamb, and speak like a dragon. This one will act on the program of the Antichrist, and this unholy trinity of the Antichrist, the false prophet, and the dragon. This is the unholy trinity which is supposed to oppose the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
The argument against that the Antichrist will be a Muslim is that the world would not follow a Muslim, somebody clearing that he's a Muslim. They're not going to follow him. But this guy has to be pragmatic, has to be from the nations, he said from the sea, which refers to the nations of Europe.
Who do you suggest the Antichrist comes from? Where do you suggest the Antichrist will come from?
The Antichrist is from the sea. But this one is specifically, say, from the land, from the desert. From the land means from the desert. The Antichrist will come from the sea. Sea refers to the nation.
Okay, which nation do you propose?
He will come from the nations, maybe. Somebody we don't know. Most probably he'll come from the Jews.
From
That's
where?
what they say. From the Jews, a Jewish person.
And the Muslims will follow this Jew?
Yeah, because they will support, he will not be declaring himself as a Jew. No,
so that's the verse that you establish that insists, from that verse you conclude that the Antichrist must be Jewish?
No, I'm saying is that he's coming from the sea. Some people say he comes from the Jewish nation, but not necessarily as overt Jewish. But it has to be a personality which is pragmatic and has apparently new ideas so that people follow him. Then the false prophet, which represents Islam, Muhammad is the false prophet. There's no argue about that. He's coming from the land, from the desert, and he will support him and help his program. And then that will do everything the Antichrist wants, and will be the hand which actually push people to support the Antichrist and implement his program. Here is the saying that anybody who doesn't carry the mark of the beast, he will see that he put it on.
Okay, all right, thank you. Brother Walid, do you want to respond to this view?
I think when we look at Revelation 13 and 17 and 18, we need to look at those in light of the other parts and passages in the Bible which are literal.
Yes.
The problem with this kind of interpretation is that anything goes.
Right.
You know, he could be Jewish, he could be this, he could be that. But, he comes from the desert, he comes from the sea. Well, the sea is the sea of humanity. The false prophet is another person here. You can't do that.
Right.
What we got to do is examine all the literal references in the Bible. Why is it that when we talk about Antichrist and end times, people think, well, we're discussing the book of Revelation. Why do we start at the end of the book?
Right.
Why do we start at the allegoric parts of the book? We need to start at the literal parts of the book.
Yes.
The Antichrist is told to us exactly where he comes from. Okay? He comes from the Seleucid parts of the Grecian Empire. Well, that could be Syria, Turkey, you know, that region, Kurdistan, you know, the Seleucid parts, in which also Gog of the land of Magog. That's
By the way, so people know, where do you get that? You said this is where he comes from. I know it's from the Bible, but people would want to know, where do you come up with this idea that this is where the Antichrist must come from?
Well, Daniel talks about the little horn, comes from the Grecian Empire. One of the Grecian, Alexander's horn broke, and 4 notable ones came out of that.
Okay.
From one of those will come the Antichrist. So we know for sure now, from this Grecian Empire, Revelation 13, by the way, confirms that. The body of a leopard, the Grecian Empire.
Okay.
Okay? Now we have to be more precise. Which part of the Grecian Empire? Well, if we go to Ezekiel 38, Ezekiel 38 talks about Gog of the land of Magog. Some might argue and say Ezekiel 38 is a battle that happens prior to the commencement of the Antichrist.
Okay.
That can't be. Because in Ezekiel 38 it talks about Messiah being on earth. The Holy One in Israel. And it also talks about him as the prophets that foretold about Gog. All the prophets talked about Gog. That can't be a separate person from the Antichrist. Many other reasons that it's going to take hours to discuss.
Okay.
But the point is Gog of the land of Magog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Meshech and Tubal is Mushki and Tubalani, that's in the country of Turkey. Okay? Remember, Turkey is where Islam received a crushing blow. The Khilafah was dismantled in Turkey.
Right.
That's the Bible also talks about. He was talking about the 2 beasts.
Yeah.
Actually, it's one beast coming twice. Okay. One of the heads was wounded. This is an empire that was wounded, and the wound was healed.
Yes.
It was the 7th empire in the 7 kingdoms that talked about in Revelation chapter 17 and 18.
Yeah.
In which the 7th one will become also the 8th, will revive again. One of these empires was wounded, and the wound was healed. So Islam will revive. And then the world will look at it and will be marveled. How could Islam revive?
Yeah.
Who is like the beast who can make war with him?
Okay, so quickly, we're going to take the next caller, but before we do, so you're saying that actually Islam itself, the religion of Islam, is the beast that will be wounded.
It was wounded when the Islamic Khilafah was dismantled.
So now that would be an allegorical or a spiritual interpretation of that particular idea.
Yes.
So the religion of Islam would have been the beast that was wounded.
With the mechanism.
And then miraculously is going to
comes back to life.
Okay, and that's what we're seeing now.
In fact, I've been saying this for many years.
Yeah.
In Turkey, I've been saying this for what year? 1994?
Yeah.
Now it's 2010.
Yeah.
And we see what's happening in Turkey. They're trying to establish Sharia law.
A revival.
He will try to change set times and set laws. He will not honor the desire of women. He will not care about women's wants. You see, in other words, the issue of the hijab is a main issue in Turkey. And we've seen the last arrests in Turkey. They've arrested the judges and military, and so they're trying to really establish Sharia in Turkey, becomes part of the military. And let's not forget, Turkey is the 2nd largest army in NATO. People say, well, Turkey, that's no big deal. The 2nd largest army in NATO after the US. Remember, the Antichrist army is not the most powerful army in the world.
Right.
Because that's very clear from Daniel 11 as well as Ezekiel 28.
Well, Brother Walid, I'm going to stop you, not because it's not interesting, but I think it's like people trying to drink out of a fire hydrant right now. There's so much wonderful information. So let's take the next caller and see if they can pick out some more of these ideas, and we'll talk specifically to these things. But before we do, Brother David, do you have any comments at this point? Yeah. All right, let's take the next caller right now. Welcome, you're on the air with Jesus or Muhammad.
Hello?
Yes, hello, welcome.
Remember me, Frank?
Yeah, we remember you.
Yeah, now tell us your first name. We forgot.
Is it Frankie or something?
Oh, well, my first name is really Ephraim, but I like being called Frank.
Frank, okay. Frank, thank you so much for calling. Did you have a question for Brother Walid?
Yes. I was going to ask him, name, because I know how the Quran is really bad, but I was going to ask you if you can name one thing in the Quran that states that anything is good there.
Anything good in the Quran? Yes, there's plenty of good things in the Quran. There's plenty of good things in the Makkiyan surahs in the Quran. Of course, the Quran talks about there's no compulsion in religion. La ikraha fid din. As you know, people living in the West, we welcome that kind of a verse. But the problem is, your question is kind of alluding to, well, the Quran has many good things. So what's your problem with the Quran? It's like, can I borrow your cup over there? It's like me putting 2 glasses of water for you right here, and I pull a little bottle and take out a little dropper and go drip, drip, drip,